Hey there, I'm Joe Carter. If you've ever popped the hood and thought, where do I even start? You're in good company. Around here, we take the mystery out of car repair, one fix at a time. Whether you're a beginner or just looking to sharpen your skills, there's something here for you. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you're into learning without the headaches. All right, that's enough from me. Let's get into it.
Let's talk about such an unpleasant process as water getting into the combustion chamber. In other words, we will tell you what an engine hydrostroke is, how to determine such and what consequences should be expected. Consider effective ways that will help to overcome water obstacles without damaging the powertrain of the car. It's just physics, nothing personal. Hydrostroke as a physical process determines the pressure jump in the system filled with liquid. The jump is provoked by a sudden change in the flow velocity of the substance circulating in the system. For example, water or other technical liquid is moving at high speed through a pipeline. If at a certain point to sharply create an obstacle to the flow, we will get a significant amount of energy. Due to the pressure surge, the liquid will press on the walls of the pipeline, which may cause a rupture of the pipeline. Applicable to internal combustion engines. As you may have realized from the definition above, nothing similar to the physical process discussed above can occur in an engine. Since we are not here to break established habits, let's consider what is commonly referred to as engine water hammer. In the process of reciprocating movements of the piston, the volume of the suprapiston space is constantly changing. The value that characterizes the ratio of the volume when the piston is at nmt to the volume of the combustion chamber at the moment. When the piston reaches TDC is called the compression ratio. In other words, the force with which the working substance, air-fuel mixture, can be reduced in the compression stroke. This force is characterized by an actual indicator called compression. The essence of hydrostroke is that the compressibility of air, which predominates in the fuel-air mixture, and water differ significantly. Water is actually an incompressible substance compared to air. Now you can imagine what kind of force acts on the parts of the CPG when the piston tries to compress an incompressible substance. It can be not only water, but also oil, for example. This is exactly how an internal combustion engine hydrostroke occurs. How you can get an engine hydrostroke. The ways in which water can get into the intake manifold can be several. Some of them are driving through a deep ford, driving through a deep puddle at high speed, low distance from the ground to the engine. Air intake, which does not obligate the above two conditions, leakage of the intake manifold, which can lead to filling of the intake manifold in the process of abundant pressure washing of the internal combustion engine, sticking of the injector in the open position, which leads to the accumulation of an incompressible amount of fuel in the cylinder. How to determine the hydrostroke of the engine. The most characteristic consequence of getting water into the cylinders is a muffled blow, which can be heard in the car interior. The engine in this case stalls. Restarting the engine in such a case is highly recommended. If you are not sure that you heard something like this, but the engine at the same time stalled, do not hurry to be upset. Perhaps water has flooded the sensor, which provoked the engine to stop. In this case, the first thing to do is to check the intake system pipes. There is water in the air filter housing. At the same time, the filter itself is also wet, and the air intake corrugation after the filter has traces of water. What to do after engine hydrostroke? Consider what you should do after a hydrostroke, not only to avoid aggravating the situation, but also, possibly, to get home on your own. Remove the spark plugs, remove the ignition coils or pull the gasoline pump fuse. In the case of a diesel engine, the glow plugs or injectors can be removed. To determine the extent of damage, try cranking the engine by hand. Jack up the front axle of the car and turn on the highest gear. Try to spin the wheels. This way you will be able to determine if you have caught a wedge. The last outcome of events is not the saddest. You can get away with replacing fingers, pistons and connecting rods. In no case should you pull the car with a cable if the engine has jammed. Such an action will provoke further damage to the cylinder. Spin the engine with the starter until water stops coming out of the cylinders. Assemble everything in reverse order and try to start the engine. If the internal combustion engine starts, but in the work clearly heard extraneous sounds, it is better to refuse to move on such a car. In the case of a desperate situation in motion, keep an eye on the engine temperature, periodically check the coolant level. Consequences of engine hydrostroke. The extent of damage is affected by many factors, the amount of fluid, engine speed at the moment of water ingress, condition of CPG, strength of CMM units, engine type. The consequences of hydrostroke for diesel are usually more deplorable. This can be explained by the fact that the compression of the diesel engine significantly exceeds the same indicator of gasoline engines. Possible damages include the cylinder head gasket, part of which can squeeze out from a sharp pressure surge, bent connecting rod, deformed piston pin, change in the correct geometric shape of the piston, the appearance of cracks. Most often the extreme edge suffers. Scoring of the cylinder, which occurs due to the inertial motion of the skewed piston. Less frequent consequences include deformation of the crankshaft, the cylinder head, or the appearance of cracks in the combustion chamber, damage to the cylinder block by a piston with a broken connecting rod. Now you understand what happens to the internal combustion engine of the car at hydrostroke. In any case, disassembly and thorough defects of the engine assemblies will be required. How to avoid engine hydrostroke? First of all, a brief set of recommendations will help you to keep your car in good working order. Avoid passing through deep puddles at high speed. Before overcoming an unfamiliar ford, don't be lazy to pump up your pants and walk the route. This may not only save you from engine failure, but also may deprive you of the desire to test your car for buoyancy. An alternative option would be to modernize your vehicle. The most effective solution in this case will be the installation of a snorkel. But for civilian cars and even more so for passenger cars, such tuning is more than undesirable. In case of extreme necessity to overcome ford, try to close all air intakes in the nose of the car. For example, the usual kitchen cloth. This will help you to win about 10 s. When the water will cover the hood. In such a situation, every second, without exaggeration, is worth its weight in gold. In conclusion, understanding the consequences of an internal combustion engine hydrostroke is crucial for maintaining engine health and performance. By recognizing the signs, conducting thorough inspections, and implementing preventive measures, you can mitigate the risks associated with hydrostatic lock. Remember, early detection and proper maintenance can save you from costly repairs and ensure your engine runs smoothly for years to come. Thank you for watching, and stay informed to keep your engine in top condition.